Welcome back to Imagine That. My name is Cheryl ONeil, certified hypnotherapist, HMI instructor, and specialist in therapeutic imagery. Let's welcome our second special guest, Maile Gray. Oh, Maile, I'm so proud of you, and I'm glad that you're here today. Now, when did you graduate?
3 years ago.
3 years ago, and you and I have worked together, and I've been your mentor.
And we've worked together. You've been my awesome mentor.
Oh, thank you. But you have also TA'd many of the workshops with me, and you've mentioned to me a couple of times that's been helpful to you, because I know you do some groups in your own practice, don't you?
I do. I do groups with adults. I've done motion picture wellness classes. I've done groups with curves. And then what's really fun is kids, youth. I've done groups with the Boys and Girls Club of Fraser Park, and I do imagery and art. And the kids draw afterwards. And we're talking from 5-year-olds till junior high school kids. And they all get the experience, and they all draw, and they all get something different. Some of them get nothing. They don't want to play, but you know, that's to be expected.
Right, and do some of them then draw, even you, because that's one of the things we talk about in our classes, that when we get images that are sometimes so potent and strong, powerful, that we want to icon them by a drawing. So the kids draw out some of their images?
The kids draw them, and I tell them, just like I tell adults in my office, keep this, and when you look at it, it'll remind you of the intensity of this experience. It'll take you back, just like we use our anchors.
Yes. Oh, that's so great. Now, you spoke about your office, so where do you have a couple offices, don't you? Where do you work out of?
I work up in Lebec, where I live in the Fraser Park area, the mountain communities, and then I have an office in Valencia. And I also facilitate small groups in my office. I can fit 6 to 8 people comfortably in there. And I'll do Transformational Tuesdays.
Oh, that's great.
That's fun.
Transformational Tuesdays. Now, do you do different styles of imagery? Do you work from some of the ones we did in the program, like the mythic and archetypal?
Yeah, Transformational Tuesdays, a lot of mythic. We do some angel stuff. And
Angels.
I also go with the dynamic of the group. But there's so many, it's just a jumping off point, the imagery, facilitator certification, the master certification. Then you can customize it to what's going on.
Sure, because, you know, that's the point. I mean, I want you guys to create your own journeys, and, you know, you have a bunch that you can work with from the program, but then as you get your groups together and you begin to find your way in creating new ones. Yeah. What's the most important thing with some of the kids in the groups that you do with the kids, that where you know a journey's really reached a kid? I mean, what do you observe? What do you notice?
With the groups?
Yeah, and right, with the groups, in particular with the kids in those groups.
You know, with the group, because it's a large group of kids at a Boys and Girls Club. I mean, the tables are full. And I tell them all, you don't have to close your eyes, you don't have to do this, just don't bug your neighbor. And so look,
I'm going to remember that.
Yeah, just don't kick them, I tell them. But so you scan them, and you can see the kids that are into it, and they don't always have their eyes closed, you know, kids are. But you can see them, their breathing settles down, and they just kind of settle. And then when they draw, it's a different dynamic than the kids that are just drawing to draw. You know, they've got more to it, and you know, I use the colors and light, and you can see how their colors come through and stuff.
So you
and guide. I use guide.
You use guide for the kids?
Yeah, I use guide. That's to trust their inner voice, you know, to get information.
And when you use the guide, do you get to hear from some of the kids? I know you would in your practice, but in the groups even, do you have them share, like describe their guides, some of the different guides that the kids would have?
I don't have the whole group. That particular group is so big, but I'll walk around and they'll tell me. They'll want to tell me. They like to share. The ones that follow along like to share. What
kind of guides do you? I had a 9-year-old recently, and Percy, you know, Percy Faith was one of the, yeah. So, I mean, you know, we have Harry Potter, and we have, some of them respond to those kinds of things, but do you get other kinds of things?
I get animals. They get animals? And sometimes it's their pets, their dogs or their cats or ones that they've had in the past. Sometimes it's big animals, you know, but they get animals oftentimes. Right. Now, I'm not sure if I suggest that or not, but I get a lot of animals.
Sometimes to help them become familiar with what a guide is, you might suggest it could be an animal, or it might be a wise person, or could be
that knows them well and is
Yeah.
kind and all of this, the positive stuff, so I don't go down the road of a tiger eating them or something.
Yeah, exactly.
You got to really build it up.
Right, exactly. But how does it feel for you when you are working with the groups and you can tell the whole room sort of settles down, even when they're kids like that? So how does that feel for you?
I love it because I know they're getting their insights, their information, they're getting it, you know. And there's so much going on. Even the drawings, there's so much more than what they can actually put on paper. And they feel so much better. The whole room, when they're finished, there's no more, the squabbling is like down to minimal after we do a group process.
Isn't that wonderful? And you know, you're sort of working on a special, I've kind of tried to sort of encourage you to do some particular work, since kids are big and for you and groups, and we won't get into the full-on, you know, what you're working on, but I'm excited for that to come out. And when you get that complete, then we'll talk about it.
I'll come back.
Right, you've got a big secret. But as you continue to develop that, I wish you all the best luck. And continuing on with your practice and doing these groups, I'm proud of you for doing that. And you should be proud of yourself, because it's not always easy to do the group work.
I got to tell you though, being in the classroom, learning the master certification, and being part of a group, experiencing it, listening to the dynamics of the entire group, talking, and then having Cheryl facilitate as who she is, was a huge part of being able to be confident in doing the groups.
Oh,
you know,
that's
to
great.
be on both sides, and how the different people have such different suggestibilities, hence different imagery. So that was a huge part of the whole imagery program, was the experiment, the part where you go through it.
Yeah, and
Say that
experience for you,
yeah.
right, too,
Yeah,
and
that
you
was
felt it
huge.
helps you to feel more confident to go do them yourself. That's great.
And to know
I-
what to expect, you know. Not everybody's going to go through it the same way.
Right, and it's fascinating. We're going to go to our journey together here in just a moment, but just to wrap up, the fascinating thing about how the words that you say and how you invite them to come to their journey are received differently by the different suggestibilities, and the journey can be completely different from one person to another.
Completely different.
That's-
Even children. Even
Yes.
children, where their reality base is.
Because-
something totally different.
And that's because imagery also takes you right to what's going on for you in the moment.
And the emotion.
And the emotion, the feelings, that's right.
Feelings.
Yeah. So why don't we check in with you? You mentioned guides with the kids. Let's you've had an interesting guide. Let's kind of see what your guide might come up with for you today. So I'm going to invite you to sort of unwind and get comfortable, and the group can come along if they'd like to. Let's take a few deep breaths, and easily and effortlessly, because you're acclimated to state, Maile, you can quickly drop down into that comfort place with a few deep breaths. And just allow yourself to maybe imagine the gentle breezes as you might walk along in your special place where the trees are, and begin to feel the sense of the day, whether it's early morning or at the dusk. A place where you walk and become aware of all of your senses and the beauty and tranquility and peacefulness of this place. And when you feel as though you're there, just give a nod.
Okay.
And then invite and allow that wise and loving guide of yours to join you there. And when you begin to get a sense of your guide, describe your guide out loud.
I get this. It's a guy. It's a Indian guy, but it's interesting because it's half in me and then half beside me. It's really interesting.
So it's sort of a part of you and beside you. He's half inside you and half beside you. And it's, what more do you notice about this Indian guide, who is your guide as you walk along?
I noticed the feet, well, the one that's not me, and the legs, but not so much the face and but strong legs and the feet, the shoes, leather shoes and stuff.
And have you a sense of this guide that sort of walks with you and within you, of the wisdom and the love that's there for you from him.
Yeah, yeah.
Just ask your guide as you're there walking along, what's the one most important thing the guide wants you to know as he's with you today? What's important for you to know for today? And allow him to respond to you in a way that you can understand.
It's about expectations and others' expectations. And that they don't, not to let them carry weight.
So he's giving you some wise instruction about expectations and others. And would that have something to do with, I'm asking you this question, trusting yourself and your own intuition?
What would it have to do with?
Yeah, would it have something in terms of not putting a whole lot of weight on others' expectations? Would that also have something to do with trusting your own intuition?
Yeah, trusting and being true to yourself as opposed to what's expected, what is perceived as expected.
So just let that thought with your guide with you right now about trusting yourself and letting yourself be with that. Let it sink right into the right space within you. If you could kind of put that idea where it might live in your body, sort of know that, so that from time to time. What more? Something more about that?
No, it's just he's saying the body, and he's like in this half, so it's going to go on the other half.
So it's going on this half. So we have some cohesiveness and some connection.
Yeah.
Whole mind, whole body together. And the full integration for yourself. The wisdom and the love and the trust of being true to yourself and knowing yourself fully and completely and thoroughly. And to bring that back with you into your conscious outer awake life now. As we thank the guide and appreciate him and come up and out now at 1 with a deep cleansing breath in and release, fully integrated into the whole self of you as you are. 2, realizing your body where you've placed yourself, the room you're in, feet fully on the ground, solid and secure. 3, feeling very, very good. 4, more alert and awake and true to yourself. 5, eyes open, wide awake and alert. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Maile, thank you so much for coming today. I wish you so much more goodness for your groups, your practice, and for being an integral part of the imagery program. Appreciate all your efforts. Thank you so much. And you can find Maile on hmigrads.com. Thanks for being here today. And that concludes our show for now, and hope you enjoyed it. And please join us again next time for Imagine That and more explorations in therapeutic imagery. Thanks, Maile. Thank you. Hypnotherapist, HMI instructor, and specialist in therapeutic imagery. Let's welcome our second special guest, Maile Gray. Oh, Maile, I'm so proud of you, and I'm glad that you're here today. Now, when did you graduate?
3 years ago.
3 years ago, and you and I have worked together, and I've been your mentor.
And we've worked together. You've been my awesome mentor.
Oh, thank you. But you have also TA'd many of the workshops with me, and you've mentioned to me a couple of times that's been helpful to you, because I know you do some groups in your own. Welcome back to Imagine That. My name is Cheryl ONeil, certified practice, don't you?
I do. I do groups with adults. I've done motion picture wellness classes. I've done groups with curves. And then what's really fun is kids, youth. I've done groups with the Boys and Girls Club of Fraser Park, and I do imagery and art, and the kids draw afterwards. And we're talking from 5-year-olds till junior high school kids, and they all get the experience, and they all draw, and they all get something different. Some of them get nothing; they don't want to play, but you know that's to be expected.
Right, and do some of them then draw, even you, because that's one of the things we talk about in our classes, that when we get images that are sometimes